Right, sweet. Gentlemen, what's cracking? I want to talk today about the difference between doing the thing that is good for you and doing the thing that works for you. And with that, I want to talk about the polarizing effect that occurs as a result of choosing to improve. So, what do I mean by the polarizing effect of choosing to improve? It's so often, so consistent with everyone that I've spoken to who's chosen to do something for themselves, and myself included in that, that the more you improve and the more you spend time working on who it is that you are, the worse you can feel in some senses. Now, of course, the reason that this happens is merely because the more you do and the more you improve, the higher your expectation of yourself. It's something that I've spoken about in a video previously, that if once upon a time 30 push-ups was out of your bounds and you were incapable of achieving such a goal, and now you've surpassed that and you can do 40 push-ups, if you now do 30, you're 10 off what it is that you could do. And with that, your mind will perceive that as a failure. What was once an astounding achievement has now become a miserable failure. Now, as I say, the essence of improvement is that you have to change your goals and you have to continue moving forward. If you stay static, you stay stagnant, and you cannot just, it cannot be that way. You could not have the same goals stay there without just stagnating. You wouldn't be improving. This is where it's important to recognize the difference between doing something because you want to do it and doing something because it's good to do. And more specifically, working out how you can merge these two things together so that you do as many things that make you feel good and do good. So the consistent factor that comes with me and what I do on quite it tends to be the trajectory of my improvement is I will go excellently full fucking Goggins mode for however long, and then I'll have a period of complete hedonism where I just kind of go balls to the wall for a bit. I still maintain my baseline kind of self-improvement quota, but I'm not pushing as hard as I can, and I'm not putting as much effort in as I can. I'm probably eating more than I should, and I'm probably smoking some stuff that I probably shouldn't be smoking a bit more than I should. I tend to go in this path, and I know that a number of people I've spoken to follow suit with this, that you will do excellently well and then slightly undo that work over a period of 2 weeks and then realise, oh shit, I'm kind of being a fucking idiot right now. Let me get back on the horse. This is not a sustainable, and it's not a positive way of going about self-improvement. And the reason that it occurs is because there isn't the distinguishing made between what I want to do and what I should do. I do too much of one or either because I don't do enough of the other. And that's the thing, is when I'm hot on the boil and doing exactly what it is that self-improvement Tom would want him to be doing, it will consist of a number of things that I sincerely don't want to do, but will do anyway. And the more that I do them and the more that one does them, the less potency they have in terms of actually making you feel good. At one point, you felt like a fucking pimp if you went in a cold shower in the morning and made your bed. And now it's become so autonomous that it's just the way things are. And at this point, it's not an achievement as much as an expectation. Now, that is the key word here, is expectation is something that becomes a problem if it's not managed when it comes to improving. And the reason that it does is because it negates any sense of ownership and positivity towards what it is that you're doing. You no longer take pride in the fact that you got up at the time you wanted to, or you did the work you said you were going to do, or you went to the gym when you didn't want to go. You no longer take pride in these things because, hey, it's just the way we are. It's just what we do. And when that happens, the magic and the essence of self-improvement is completely extinguished, because you are no longer operating on a basis of, does this make me feel good and does this make me feel do good? And that's the thing to call back to when it comes to self-improvement, is why are you doing it? You're not choosing to put yourself through a grueling training session, or to watch a podcast that you'd probably rather just watch a movie, or to sit and read, or sit and write, or do whatever, you're not doing that just because. You're not doing it, and it's particularly the difficult things, the particularly difficult things. You're not choosing to go to a grueling Muay Thai session just because you feel like getting battered for 2 hours and want to feel like you're dying for half an hour of it. You don't do it just for that reason. You do it because you have an understanding of, I will forsake a portion of my time and offer it to discomfort, and in return I will get agency and joy and gratification. You do it for the trade-off. And when you lose sight of the fact that you're doing these things, even though they're hard and you don't want to do them, you lose the joy and you lose the impetus that comes with self-improvement. And when this happens, you invariably find yourself in a pattern similar to the one that I find myself in a lot of the time. Do a lot of good, do some bad, go back to good. And it's just, the problem is that bad in the middle can really, if we put it on a metric of, you do your good 3 months gives you 10 plus points. If your next 2 weeks makes you go 2 or 3 down, or even 4 down if you really go for it, you've spent 3 months doing something that shouldn't have taken as long as it took, because you've got rid of some of the growth that you gained because you've gone back in that little period. So you need to get out of that state. Now, how do you get out of this state? It's all well and good saying, right, I'm finding myself doing all this work and then I'm doing all of this stuff to account for it. How do I actually deal with it though? You have to incorporate everything in moderation. Now, the ruling principle of your life has to remain as, I want to improve, I want to be better, I want to be the person that I want to be. But you have to learn to spend just enough time in every place. You have to learn to spend enough time out with your friends to feel like you've got friends. You have to spend enough time sitting on the sofa just doing nothing to feel relaxed. You have to spend enough time eating crap food that you really enjoy to feel like you're enjoying stuff. Equally well, you have to make sure that you're putting in enough work to provide yourself with the feeling of progress and as though you're doing the right things. You have to make sure that you're getting the gym work in so that your body is not just piling on that joy that you had over here and causing its own problem. You have to balance both. And this is the problem that comes with self-improvement. And I do believe, to a large extent, it is the problem of self-improvement. Is distinguishing the idea, or expelling rather, the idea that if I do one thing that doesn't align with self-improvement exactly, that I've failed something. There tends to be this feeling we can get into with self-improvement that if I'm not doing something 24/7 that involves either improving me academically, improving me physically, or learning a new skill or something like that, if it's not a progressive act, then it's a failure. And it's at this point where you have to take a balance. And the balance that I've found so useful is that one pays for the other. So the hard work that you do on a Friday night in the gym, working your arse off, is what pays for your Saturday night takeaway. At which point you create this kind of balance innately, and you have a kind of contractual obligation with yourself. You say, okay, you're allowed to do the thing you would like to do so long as you do this thing. And I would urge that you do it this way around, because it is very easy to get into a process of going, but I really want to do this right now, I'll do that tomorrow. That being said, there is a part for that too. There is a part for spontaneity, and I think that is that in itself is important. Sometimes, like everything with self-improvement, this is the thing. This is the misconception about self-improvement, is that it's like a rule book that you abide by in each and every moment, and it's not. You have to be fluid, and you have to recognise that the lens that you look at your life through for one specific scenario is not the one that you need to look through for another. It has to be tempered. Everything that you learn must be tempered. David Goggins is someone who I have a profound appreciation for, and I fucking love the bloke, to put it simply. But I cannot take his word and use it as my driving force for every single moment of my life. If I'm trying to conversate with someone about just some nice topic, I'm speaking to an old lady about something, and I'm screaming in her fucking face about the fact she hadn't run fucking 250 fucking miles this year, I'm going to have a serious problem. I can't apply the same thing to each scenario. I have to learn to temper it. I have to reduce that part that helps me when it comes to running into a little... I have to siphon out the David Goggins and put him over there for when I need him. And this applies for all. When you're enjoying something, enjoy it fully. When you're working, work. And that's the thing, is as best as you can, you want to be focused on the goal that you're doing and not worried about other things in that sense. And this is the perpetual journey of self-improvement, is recognizing the moment that I'm in as the one to enjoy. But the point is, and where I'm going, is you don't have to abide by the book in all areas of your life. If there comes a point where, yes, maybe you should be going to the gym tonight, but there's a party that's only on you've never seen before, it's a once in a blue moon sort of party, and you've been invited to it, and there's going to be a number of people you can speak to there, go to the fucking party. Just go and do it. Because the thing that and this is something that Hamza said that I believe is really insightful, was you will learn so much more from that evening than any amount of abstract improvement you'll get as a result of that extra rep, that extra gym session. This is the temperance that must be applied. Because if you get into this kind of cookie cutter mode with self-improvement, you can find yourself in a real state of kind of OCD induced catastrophizing. I find that one thing that I believe everyone should do, as if, you know, I think it's just a nice thing to do, is if you see a bit of rubbish on the floor that you can pick up, just pick it up. It's not up to you to pick that piece of rubbish up, but if you see it and you feel like you can do it, just pick it up and put it in the bin. It'll make you feel good, it'll make the world feel better. But the problem that I have with that is I get into this kind of ownership of the man who picks up rubbish, and with that, I now go, I have to pick up every single piece of rubbish on the planet. And if I don't pick something up, I'll feel bad about it, because I've set myself forth to be the person who chooses to pick something up even when they don't need to. And with that, I then assume a role of guilt and dissatisfaction if I do anything but 100% of the time apply what it is that I'm speaking about. You know, if I know that it makes me feel good to pick up rubbish, I need to do it every single time, so to speak. That's what my mind believes. And the truth is with this, and I know it's a common difficulty when it comes to self-improvement, is that temperance really needs to be employed here. You have to learn that you do enough to achieve your goal, and anything more than that, you don't want to get into this long spiraling loop of just being flung around by your self-improvement desires. If you're someone who's choosing to go and conversate more, say, you want to go and speak to more people because you want to get more and more confident, and you've spoken to 10 people today, you've done fantastically well to do that, and for whatever reason you walk past someone and you think, oh, I'm going to speak to this person, and then you don't because you're either scared, or they give you a funny look that you just don't want to speak to them now, or they look at you and then look away and you can't really get their attention. It's so easy to then find yourself thinking, oh, why didn't I speak to that person? And feeling terrible about it because you didn't do it that one time. it is so fundamentally important that you recognize that once you've hit your goal, you need to congratulate yourself. And at this point, you can do more if you feel like doing it, but you don't have to do more. You set your goal, and once you hit your goal, you congratulate yourself for doing it. Self-improvement has a real knack for making the amount of work that was required seem like a cop-out. It's pushed onto us, this idea of, if I wanted to write, or if I wanted to run 5 miles and I run 5 miles, that's somehow not enough. It's almost like, if I've chosen to run 5 miles, why didn't I run 7? Well, because I chose to run 5. But if I stop at 5, I know for a fact that if I chose to do 5 miles and I stopped at 5, I would somehow find a way to justify a thought of, well, you could have done 5.5. Well, hang on, I set out to do 5, so why am I not happy with 5? This is a real problem that comes with self-improvement. The idea that enough never comes. It's never enough to do what it was that you said you'd do, and even if you do more than what you said you'd do, the same principle applies. There's kind of this idea that I will castigate and ridicule and chase myself around with the tyrant of my mind, of one's mind, all day until the end of the night, where I might afford you some time to relax. But we'll be back on it tomorrow. This cycle is potent in self-improvement. It's a poignant part of the adversity and the difficulty that comes with self-improvement. So often do we gloss over this part of choosing to be better because we're focused on the tangible assets and the physical part of improvement. We deem improving and getting better at anything as the material elements that come with the process. If you want to have a better body, or be more articulate, or read more, or whatever it is, if you want to do any of these things, we judge ourselves on the basis of how much did we do literally. And with that, our constitution of adversity is, how did it feel to do that much? We don't talk about the adversity that comes with self-improvement and mention the fact that on a day-to-day basis you might have incredible amount of doubt towards yourself because you're driven by this chip on your shoulder, this insatiable desire to get over a problem that you had with an ex-girlfriend or something like that. Or we don't speak about the fact that so much of the time the work and the difficulty that occurs in self-improvement is up here. It's up here. We find so much trouble when there's nothing going on at all. Your mind can drive you rampant and it can ravage its way through you by catastrophizing and worrying and fearing things when you choose to improve. And what I would like to dissect into here and go into here is the importance of understanding your own mind. Now, I say that in a very simple term, almost satirically, because no one quite understands their own mind. No one understands the mind. But we spend so much of our time worrying and catastrophizing and fearing and then running away from the fear. We can sedate ourselves with our self-improvement by, I measure myself on how many miles I run. So if I feel bad, I'll just go for a run. Well, that's good and well done for running, but the problem's still there because it was there yesterday. So you're not quite dealing with what it is that you need to deal with. And this applies for a number of principles when it comes to the mind. Is something will be uncomfortable, someone will say something we don't like, or someone will see something that makes us sad to think about, and we will just push it to the back of our minds. No longer will we spend any time actually recognizing the thought and recognizing where we are. No, we will just push it to the back of our mind and we'll add another skeleton to the closet. When we do that, though, we only cause greater adversity and greater difficulty for ourselves that doesn't lead to any growth down the line. Sam Harris speaks of the fact that 99% of the difficulty and the hardship that we face doesn't actually make us happier, it doesn't actually make us better, and we can't actually apply it through the funnel of improvement. It just makes us more miserable, more unhappy, and more neurotic. It's at this point that it's important to consider the prospect of thought. Just thinking. How much time do we really spend just thinking? Spending 10 minutes a day just sat on your chair, looking at a wall, seeing what comes to mind. Or going for a walk, going for a run even. You can go for a run and do this. It can cross over. Going for a walk in nature is a fantastic one for this. Or just sitting and listening to a podcast, or just spending some time in your own head, talking to yourself. Very rarely do we actually have an understanding of the fact that I am perceiving the world and it is me who is aware of it. You kind of have this murky idea that yes, I'm in thought at the moment, but not one that is recognising the fact you're thinking. You don't actually walk around with a cognitive understanding of the fact that, oh, I've just seen that person and that person's reminded me of this thing I'm uncomfortable about and now I'm going to shut off that feeling of discomfort. That doesn't happen with our recognition. It just happens. So we go around all day, thinking all day, chased out of bed by our thoughts, without actually understanding that we're thinking. And this aimlessness that occurs is what we should try as best as we can, as difficult as it is, to spend some time recentering and aiming in the appropriate direction. If you spend some time with yourself, just learning about who it is that you are, spending 10 minutes just looking out the window or sitting on a hill, nothing strenuous, just spending some time with yourself. You learn so much more about the world than the world will ever teach you through a video. If you can sit with yourself and begin to understand the fabric of your mind and who it is that you truly are, then you're really going to go somewhere with that. I truly believe that. Spending time with your thoughts will provide you with the answers that you require. And I believe that the best method of avoiding a kind of rumination and kind of feeling shit about what it is you're thinking about is to apply a physical activity to this mental activity. If you want to go and think about some things, go on a walk and do it, or sit on a hill and do it. Give your mind something to look at. Even if it's a blank wall. A blank wall is quite a good thing to do this with because it really gets in there. There's nothing to take you away from yourself. And applying these two things is really helpful. I genuinely think there is some fantastic development to be made as a result of just sitting with yourself. And this is the misconception that will come with doing this, is that negative thoughts are things to be avoided. When you feel something negative in your head, your instantaneous reaction, almost invariably, is to shut it down, get it away, and stop thinking it. But the problem is you just rescind it to the back of your mind and it will just come back at some point. And then maybe it will come back with friends. It might come back with another set of doubts that are going to come at you together. And that's not good. We don't want to become that together. Fucking hell. Anyway. And when we do this, we just prolong the inevitable. It is, in every sense of the word, paping over the proverbial crack. So you need to just look at these thoughts and understand that actually a negative thought does not mean it's pointless, and it does not mean it's harmful as to avoid. The serrated edge of a knife is harmful and there is no reason for you to touch it. Thoughts are not this way. Thoughts, rather, are the pain of the gym that is necessary to touch in order for you to become who it is that you want to be. I saw a fantastic insight on a audiobook called 101 Essays That Will Change Your Life. It's on Spotify, really great. And it was talking about the fact that having a negative connotation towards a feeling, towards a thought rather, is not suggesting that it's not worth diving into. It's actually suggesting entirely the opposite. If there was no growth or no thought to be had on a matter, you wouldn't think about it. You don't think about things you don't care about. And that's the thing, is just because something hurts you to think about does not mean that you shouldn't think about it. Rather, you probably should think about it. You probably should think about whether you are the person who spends too much time talking about themselves in conversation, or whether you're the person who says one thing and does another. You should probably think about that. And the reason that you should probably think about that is because you can change it. Thought, and at that, conscious thought, is very powerful for providing you with the answers that you require, so long as you choose to solve them. If you just sit with your thoughts, you're not going to go anywhere with it. You cannot just sit and let the thought consume you. There has to be an effort to understand that I'm in a process of thought. Very similar in this sense, if not identical, to meditation. You're just choosing to recognize that there is someone perceiving what's happening right now. There is something going on, and someone is behind my eyes. I am the one that's looking at this world, but who am I? I think that's where I'm going to end this today. Do you know what? I think we're good for that. I've covered where I want to go with this, and I'm really pleased with what I've done. And I hope anyone who's here watching, I do love you, and thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it, because I want to make something that helps someone. And if you're hearing this, thank you very much. I hope you have a lovely day, and you take care of yourself. See you later, dog.